Hello there, it's Fabienne from Boldheart.com, and I am here with Asia, and I cannot wait to introduce you to her. Asia, introduce yourself and your business, please.
Thank you, Fabienne. Okay, so I'm Asia, and I am the founder of a company called multidimensional.u.com. It's a metaphysical coaching company. So I help people transcend limited states of consciousness and basically align with the vision of their dreams and then live it out in some pretty powerful ways.
Yeah, really powerful ways. You have such an interesting business. I'm always like, tell me more, tell me more. Asia, when did you join us? It's been how long now?
Just over a year,
Yeah.
which is crazy because it feels like a lifetime ago. It feels like years ago, and it was only like 14 months ago.
Because so much has happened for you. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
First of all, before we even get to what your business was like before, why did you join us?
Yeah, great question. So I've invested tens of thousands of dollars in coaching. So I'm a big proponent of self-development.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I broke out on my own with my own company in 2009, very much on the side, I realized, well, I need help. So I've always enlisted a business coach, right? Sometimes there are gaps between there. And so I was in between coaches and I was like, who's my next mentor? Where am I really being called to go? And your name immediately kind of came in. I was like, oh, I know her. I had begun following you. You were the business coach to one of my coaches, right? And so, yeah, I had just been following you for several years. And so then I got on your website and I started watching your videos, just like we're doing now. And I recognized, and I'm very in tune with my guidance, my higher guidance. I went, okay, something is going on here. And then I watched everyone's story and I realized, let me back up and say, especially I think in the metaphysical spiritual community, there's a lot of scarcity consciousness. And so I had been working with peers trying to build a mastermind, and I realized and recognized that they were not ready for the kind of growth that I was seeking. And especially based in making an impact in the world. There are a lot of stories, as you well know, around money stories and building
it's like
your
the
business.
Starving artist community.
Yeah.
There's a lot of that.
It's not okay to accept money because these are gifts. And, there was so much of that. No, not at all. That's just such a limiting belief system. So I recognized that I needed a strong mentor who was speaking my language, and two, I needed a different community. I needed a community of peers who were being driven in the same way that I was. So that's why I was just telling you, Saturday mornings with my coffee, enjoying listening to all of the testimonial interviews and getting really inspired. I recognized it was time to dive in. So really, when I got to the call, I was just like, okay, let's get through this.
Let's make this happen. Tell me, what was your situation like before you joined us 14 months ago? What was your business like briefly?
Oh my gosh, yeah.
What results you're experiencing now as a result?
Yeah. I mean, it was like I was saying, different life, different business completely. In terms of the number of clients, in terms of my price points, in terms of what I felt like I was able to do for my family, which is really important to me, for my daughter, for my husband, in terms of my own missions that I keep being sent on all over the planet, just barely being able to scrape together enough to do those, right? Everything felt very kind of contracted and limited. And I just kept thinking, my joke is, I can channel Yeshua, I can channel Jesus. Can I make a business successful? What is going on here?
Yeah.
Yeah. So just, I was in this place of feeling
contracted, small numbers of clients, small money.
Yes. Yeah. Like just a few thousand a month. And I just had this feeling of being stuck, and I had been given a huge mission. I had downloaded a huge vision, a huge mission. And I just recognized that, well, I just can't do this on my own. Something is just not giving me enough momentum. Right.
Yeah.
And I felt very alone. I felt very isolated and alone with all of it. And, I think a lot of people are like, why, you have your nonprofit job. Why don't you just do that? And it was like I felt like I was dying inside. The idea of like going and getting a job, it's almost like that's just not an option. And I know that some people are going to be able to relate to this. Like I felt almost being like I was being overly dramatic, but yet it was like right here, it was like, no, that is not your path forward. And so I realized I have to figure this out.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And so you had that conversation, that strategy call, and to explore what it would be like to work together. And you're like, okay, let's go. What has transpired from just a few clients, just some money, a contracted feeling, loneliness? I bet sometimes self-doubt, right? When we're alone, we doubt and stuff like that. What has happened to your results and your business in 14 months?
Yeah. And let me back up and just say there was a bit of resistance. I think it's, let's be really honest. I don't think any of us, when we're about to up level, don't encounter some resistance.
Yeah.
And
Talk
so,
about that resistance.
yeah. So there's always the money story.
Yeah.
And even though in my head, I said, look, I figure this is a, X amount program. I'm ready to do that. And of course that's what it ended up being. So, they had prepared me.
Manifested that.
Right. But my recipe has always been, the way my guides have always worked with me, is you get your instructions, you know what you're supposed to do, your gut tells you you're supposed to do it. And then here comes the mind, right? But I always have to take leaps of faith, because that's the only way that we break free from all these old limiting patterns. And so I knew that even though I was like, I don't know, I'm going to pay for this. I was like, but here we are again. I'm just going to have to do it again.
How did you, before we get to the results you've experienced, which are phenomenal, how did you finally get past the resistance around the money? Because that's where a lot of people get stopped.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. I was just talking to my sales director about this because we're seeing this.
Look at you, so fancy. You now have a sales director.
Yeah, she's brilliant. And we see this where, they will even tell us their guides have told them to do this, and then it's a negative program. So guess what? I'll be developing some meditations around that.
Awesome. Yeah. Let me build that into my programs.
There you go. Exactly. Yeah. We don't realize to what extent, myself included at that time, and certainly my husband, right? And our spouse impacts us greatly. So that's been quite a dance on helping him move with me. And dealing with, so to answer your question, what helped me was some of the prior experience I had, where I would deal with so much pressure to go do a trip that I felt like I don't have the money for this. I would do it, and then all the money would flow after that. And so I just laugh. It's like, I will always be on that razor's edge. And so I've had to get very comfortable with being uncomfortable, knowing that my freedom comes on the heels of breaking through that.
Oh, so interesting. I've never really thought about saying to someone who's bumping up against the money resistance, resisting investing in yourself financially, to look back at all the times you did and you got the results that you wanted. It takes some faith, really. It takes some
big
faith.
Time. That's exactly
it.
Yeah.
So tell us, what's the outcome? And you're in, you're just like 14 months in. What's happened, Asia?
Well, so it's interesting because during my call, they were already guiding me into leverage. I was like, no, I'm not ready for that. So I came in at growth, but by December, the call was to move up into leverage already. So then that was just in, first meeting was in January, right, of this year. And so, gosh,
December right now. Yeah.
Right. And of course my guides were like, no, you're not going to do leverage US, you're going to do leverage Paris, because you have work to do there. Right. So of course I just surrender. That's my recipe.
What you may not know about Asia, but she lives in the US, but she travels 4 times a year to come and see us in the European leverage group in Paris, as opposed to the one that's right in the US. But hey,
that would be too logical. Yeah, I ended up doing a lot of, like I told you, multidimensional work in Paris. But yeah, so the results, wow. Where do I begin? I think the biggest one.
Start financially, because people always want to.
Yes.
First.
Okay, so I went from like, $1,500 a month to maybe like amazing was $3,000 a month. And now we're rocking $45,000 a month. And my goal is.
Say it again.
$45,000 a month.
$45,000 a month. First of all, can I give you a high five, girlfriend? That is awesome. Wow. What else? What else?
And so now, instead of just me with all of this work, I have a sales director who's rocking it. I have a business manager who is rocking it, right? And who is building out a team underneath us, freeing me up from being in the day to day and on the front end, right? So I can really focus on my
Did you
work.
know how to hire that, all of those people?
No, no. This came in January. But it was
The meeting.
perfect. The very first activator was creating a business that supports your lifestyle. What a beautiful place to start from. And I got really clear about, you don't have to do it this way. And then the next one was, oh, by the way, to make all this happen, guess who you need in place? And I did my homework, didn't I? I
Yes,
said,
yes, you
by
did.
April 1st, I'm going to have a rock star business manager in place. So I followed all of the great guidance you gave us around how to find a good person and put that person in place. And again, I did, my launch didn't go well as well as I had thought. So like, I just felt like, oh my gosh, I don't have the funds now, but you know what? I said, I have to do this. And then look what's happened since then. So, so in the last 3 months, Fabienne, I have made more than I made all of last year. Right?
Wow.
Yeah. And then I think the biggest, I don't know. I mean, let me back up before I get to the huge piece, which you already know.
Yeah.
So now I can travel as much as I want to. I can take my daughter, I can take my family. So I was called to Bali in July.
Yeah.
Last minute, I realized, why am I not taking my daughter? Booked a flight for her. She came with me, had a wonderful
Easy
time.
peasy. Yep.
Yeah. And then same thing, we're headed to France as a family for a retreat we're running at the end of October in the southwest of France.
Yeah.
And that means so much to me, that it's just not me going, which is wonderful and exceptional, that it's becoming our lifestyle, which was 3 years ago.
Yeah.
It was and it was the mission that was downloaded to me. It was the vision. It was the big vision that was doing this level of work. So
what is it about Boldheart Business that creates the results that you've experienced in just 14 months? And you're in for the long haul, but
yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It was clear to me, like after the 6 months that I moved into leverage, I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to be here 3 to 5 years, because this is a priceless community. And let me just back up and say that final piece of results is that my husband is giving notice tomorrow and quitting his job that he's had for 25 years with the government. And this is massive for us. So I still can't believe we're already here. That's really exciting.
It took me a long time to be able to do that for my husband. And look at you, 14 months. I applaud you. I admire you for just implementing, saying yes to the direction. Every time I told you to do something, you did it. And
exactly.
You just followed the recipe.
That's right. And even mindset. I wasn't going to come to mindset. And of course, the guidance intervened. And it was like, I need you here, come here, be here, do this.
Mindset retreat. If you don't know what mindset is, it's the mindset retreat, 3 days in November every year. I totally change your mindset, and you become so much more confident and expansive.
Abundant. It's just amazing container where things can happen in that container that just aren't going to happen outside while you're off on your own. So, I get it. I'll still go there. We get our ideas about what we should be doing, what no. And then, it's like, just do what you're being asked to do, both by you, peers who will intervene, like, and even say later, like, I don't even know where that came from. And so, where do I start with? It's the container you create. It's the community that you've put together. It's the people that you attract. Yeah. Right. These are exceptional, what I would call light workers. Yeah. And they are all in service. Right.
So much extreme generosity, right? I think just because I give a lot, it's the example is set. So people will say, oh, let me give you my operations manual. Let me give you this resource. Let me show you how I've done my rate sheet, right? I mean, that's kind of how it works.
Exactly. That's exactly it. And then, you've really helped me overcome mindset issues around doing my work in a group format because I've realized the exceptional value we get when we gather and you hear other people's stories and the questions they're asking. So that's been just invaluable. So the Q&As, the live meetings, wouldn't miss that.
Never. Anything. I always say, never miss a meeting. Never miss a meeting.
Because again, something's happening there in person that it's like alchemy, right? And it shifts you to the whole next room. And so and I think I'll say too, your model, you're being the role model, the beacon of what's possible. You're basically sharing this template your entire life, your entire being, how you show up in the world, is this just beautiful, like lighthouse that all we have to do is just look your way. And it's like, that's right. That's what's possible. So, it's much easier to minimize all the voices that would be naysaying, and then raise up this completely different zone of possibility.
Oh, this is amazing. A question I always like to ask. I mean, is it a worthwhile investment, and why?
It's so funny.
$1,500 a month to $45,000 a month. I mean,
like, yeah, it's those early months of like, I hope I can make that payment, and now I'm like, what? Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, my husband is quitting his job tomorrow after 25 years. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, it's just a no-brainer. If you're going to make an investment that lines up with your gut instinct, right? And we both know that you've created something here that is way more than, business growth. There, of course, that's a huge piece of it, and it's huge, but it's so much more than that.
Yeah.
So
it's hard
you
put it into words, right?
Yeah.
You kind of know once you come in and people are like, but you said it was life-changing, but everybody says that, and it really is life-changing. So, you just have to be in it to understand it, really.
Exactly. Yeah. That's right. You really gain a family,
Yeah.
The accountability partner system is part of this, the buddy, like to be able to speak to somebody every day,
awesome.
Who is on that same journey as you, priceless.
Yeah.
Priceless. Yeah. Peers who are doing similar things and making huge leaps, again, just invaluable. So I mean, like, no brainer, people. What are you waiting for?
Make a decision. I think what's really important, and you mentioned it earlier, is to just say yes to the exploratory strategy call, right? All you have to do is just get on the phone, talk to a coach. It's not a pressuring thing, right? I mean, you can.
No, not at all. No, if anything, I was the one like, come on,
tell me more about it. Let's make it happen.
No, so it's very relaxed, and it feels much more like a conversation, and it feels very warm, and all the people that in your company just have that same beautiful vibe. So that's the other thing that I think sometimes people don't realize, like there's this beautiful continuity of tone and energy across your entire organization, which is not always the case,
Well, we kind of walk our talk in the sense of, we help we teach people as like you systems and processes and operations and stuff like that. And so there's a company culture, and people used to say, WWFD, what would Fabienne do? And that's why everybody you'll meet at Boldheart is going to be loving and positive and enthusiastic and strategic and love you up, even if they don't know you. It's just the way it is.
Yeah.
That's how we do in this world.
It's an incredible community all the way around. Yeah.
Asia, congratulations on all these incredible results. And the best part is we're just getting started. The best is yet to come. So.
That's exactly what my guidance keeps saying, and you're just getting started. So.
I'm sending you a big hug, lots of love. Thank you for sharing your story. And just by being here, sharing your story, you've created breakthroughs. There are people all around the world who will watch this, and who you will have been a catalyst for them. So I thank you for that. Thank you. Lots of love.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.